Welcome to episode 47 of Book Nerd Paradise, where we get to know an author as they tell us one of their favorite quotes, read from their work, pose a trivia question, and give away a book or two. Hi, I'm L.R.W. Lee, author of the Andy Smithson Epic Fantasy Adventure Series. And as you would probably expect, I do an awful lot of reading, primarily YA fantasy and some sci-fi. If you're ever looking for an honest review of many of the YA fantasy books out there, I invite you to visit my blog at blog.lrwlee.com, where you'll find reviews for everything from Air Awakens by our own Elise Kova, Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, Remnant Chronicles by Mary E. Pearson, Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas, and a whole host of other authors. That's blog.lrwlee.com. And while you're there, subscribe so you get the latest reviews and announcements the instant they go live. How about that? Today, we welcome YA sci-fi author Sarah Negovetich. Sarah says she knows most people don't know how to pronounce her name, which is a very good thing. And she says she's okay with that. But her first love is young adult novels, because at 17, the world is your oyster. Only oysters are slimy and more than a little salty. It's accurate, if not exactly motivational, I guess. Sarah divides her time between writing YA books that her husband won't read and working with amazing authors as an agent at Corvisiero Literary Agency. Her life's goal is to be only a mildly embarrassing mom when her kids hit their teen years. So please join me in welcoming Sarah Negovetich.
Hi, book lovers.
You'll be reading from your YA sci-fi, which actually is dystopian sci-fi novel, and it's called Rite of Revelation, which is book 2 in your Acceptance series. So that we can get a feel for the book, would you give us a brief synopsis?
The Cardinal plans to execute 17-year-old Rebecca Collins, just as soon as he gets what he needs to solidify his rule over the United Territories. Faced with certain death, Rebecca discovers not everyone is under the Cardinal's control. A new alliance helps Rebecca and her friends escape the pit, giving Rebecca a chance to live the life her rejection took away. But the Cardinal needs her in order to stay in power, and he doesn't care who has to die to bring her back to justice. Her last fight was a push to survive. This time, Rebecca has a life that might be worth dying for.
Cool. This sounds like it's going to be a very good episode. Sarah, you've selected one of your favorite quotes. If you would, tell us what it is and then tell us why it's a favorite.
My favorite quote comes from 1984 by George Orwell, which is one of my favorite authors and books. And it is, "The choice for mankind lies between freedom and happiness. And for the great bulk of mankind, happiness is better." So that's not really a very happy quote. It's actually kind of depressing if you stop to think about it. But the reason that I like this quote is because it reminds me to never allow myself to get comfortable. Happiness is a wonderful thing to strive for, but fulfillment is so much better in my book. So for me, this quote is a constant reminder to never settle for just being happy, to make sure I'm looking behind that curtain and really grabbing at everything that's within me reach.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Yeah, because happiness really is, it's just a momentary, it's like, normally it's based upon what your circumstances are, right? As opposed to satisfaction is not just that, right?
Right. Exactly.
Cool. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for that. I like that. I like that quote too. You're also going to be giving away a book. If you would, tell our listeners what you are giving away.
So we are going to do a couple ebook copies of the first book in the series, which is Rite of Rejection. And then for a US-based listener, we are going to give away a physical copy of book 2 that I'll be reading from a little bit later, is Rite of Revelation.
All right, cool. So there's 3 chances to win. So
Yes.
if you are domestic, you actually have 3. If you're international, you have 2, I think. But still awesome opportunities. So you can get either one of 2 ebooks of the first book, or you can get the paperback of the second book. So that's awesome. So to enter to win, make sure that in the comments right below here, that you leave just some sort of comment about the show, what you like, whatever it might be. But with that, also include either a Twitter handle or a Facebook address, some way to get a hold of you, because people don't ever seem to pay attention to their YouTube emails. So anyway, so go ahead and do that, and best of luck, and we'll see who the winner is. Have you ever heard the expression awesome possum? Are you looking for great reads for your kids or grandkids? Award-winning author M.K. Mathias has recently published the first 3 books in the Awesome Possum series for early readers. And the expression awesome possum is apropos, because these books have an engaging rhyming tale with full color illustrations that are sure to keep kids riveted and begging for more. Awesome Possum by M.K. Mathias. Get one or all of them at Amazon today. So Sarah, you'll be reading from your novel, Rite of Revelation, which, as I said, is book 2 in your acceptance series. Would you briefly set up the portion you'll be reading from and then share with us?
But in this book, as indicated on the synopsis, Rebecca and her friends have a chance to escape from the pit. So I'll be reading from a section where they are kind of out in the wilderness and trying to figure out what they are going to do next now that they are out of the cardinal's grasp. So the sun is fully up and I'm fully exhausted. Up ahead, Patrice trips and hits the ground on her hands and knees. Eric and Daniel both jump to help her, but Eric backs off with a death glare from Daniel. Despite orchestrating our escape, there's still an uneasy alliance between those two. Eric's attention to Patrice is only fueling the animosity. Daniel helps Patrice to stand, but her legs are wobbly. She's spent. Let's take a break. Everyone sinks to the ground where they stand at Eric's words, creating a circle of bodies among several large boulders. After walking all night, we're all running on empty. Thomas crawls over to a tree and strips some of the moss off the bark. Like he's done at every rest stop, he grabs 2 rocks, makes a small pile of debris, and strikes the rocks together repeatedly until a flicker of a spark shoots off and grabs onto the dried moss. Without taking his eyes off the smolder, he grabs a handful of twigs and sticks them into the flame, making a cone shape for the fire to climb. Eric and Daniel walk over with an armload each of various sticks and branches, and within minutes, we're all sitting around a steady blaze, our hands stuck in front of us to soak up the warmth. Where did you learn to build a fire like that? My father would sometimes build a fire in our fireplace, but he only stuck the fabricated logs in and lit it. Thomas's fire required knowledge and skill that would have been useless in the territories. My father taught me when I was a kid. Thomas's voice is low against the crackle of burning wood. I didn't exactly grow up like the rest of you. What do you mean? Remember when we left Vicksburg and there were all those rundown buildings at the edge of city? I nod, but Thomas isn't looking at me. That's how I grew up. My father worked in a little repair shop that fixed items for people who couldn't afford to buy new when something broke. I would sit with him in his workshop and watch him tinker with everything from ancient noteboards to coffee pots. When I got older, he taught me how to search out what was broken and figure out how to fix it. And when there wasn't enough money to keep the heat on, he taught me how to make a fire so we didn't freeze in the winter. I reach out a hand to his arm. I'm so sorry. Don't be. Thomas prods the fire with a long stick and sparks shoot up into the air around us. The assignment made sure my family would struggle to get by, but we had a good life. My father's the smartest man I know. He could fix anything, and he taught me more than I ever learned in school. Even without tons of money, there was so much love. No one in my house ever treated me like I was less because of the scars left over from my illness. We didn't have much to eat or new clothes, but we had plenty of laughter. Growing up in my family made me who I am today. I'm not sorry for that, and you shouldn't be either. It's like Thomas and I grew up on different planets. My father's job provided everything we needed, even if it was never enough for what my mother wanted, but we never had laughter. We all stare into the fire, but without anything more to eat, there's really nothing else to do but try to get some rest. Daniel takes out our blankets and the others settle down as well. Thomas stands, brushing the dirt away from his pants. I'll go get a bit more wood for the fire and take first watch. You should stay right where you are. My head jerks up at the unfamiliar voice. A man stands a few yards away, a bow and arrow pointed directly at Thomas's head.
Oh, no, you're not leaving us there. Oh, come
right
on.
there.
Oh, that's mean. That's really, really mean. Okay, well, I guess we really have to get the book now, don't we?
Authors are cruel sometimes.
Indeed, we are, aren't we? Yes. Our guest author last week, YA contemporary author J.C. Phelps, posed a trivia question for us.
My trivia question was, what flower in the Hunger Games reminds Katniss that she is not doomed? The answer is the dandelion, and here's a quote to prove it. To this day, I can never shake the connection between this boy, Peeta Mellark, and the bread that gave me hope, and the dandelion that reminded me that I was not doomed.
Sarah, you have a trivia question for us. What is it?
I do. Like most people out there, I'm a huge Potter fan, so let's go with a little Harry Potter trivia today. So in Harry Potter, the spell Expecto Patronum calls a wizard's Patronus. Like most of Rowling's spells names, this one is based in Latin. What is the Latin translation for Expecto Patronum?
Oh, man. I consider myself a Potterhead too, and I have no clue. So this will be very interesting. So if you are like me and don't have any idea, make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel, because next week Sarah will reveal this Latin equivalent to what Expecto Patronum means. So make sure that you don't miss it. All right. So Sarah, are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave with our listeners?
One thing I get asked so much, because I am an author and an agent, is what's the best way to publish a book? And I think what people are really looking for is, what's the best way for me to publish a book? Please give me the answer. And I want to just say definitively, there is no right answer. Please stop asking people. They don't know what the right answer is for you. Really, it's going to be so different for every author, for every book that's written, and it changes from month to month. The publishing world moves fast. So my only advice for you is to go out there, do your research, go and listen to the advice. There's so much wonderful advice that's online, but ignore anyone who claims to have the answer. Anyone who's going to tell you that, anyone who signs a traditional deal is dead in the head, ignore them. Anyone who tells you that self-publishing is for people who can't hack it, tune them out. Those people don't have the answer for sure. Listen to everybody else and then make the best decision for you.
That is great advice. Yes, and I have to add, so hopefully you don't object to this, Sarah, but so Sarah actually self-published her series. So that should be just a little hint of, it may be traditional, it may be self-pubbed, but even she as an agent chose to self-publish her books. So keep that in mind. That's great. Awesome advice. Thank you for that. All right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed getting to know Sarah Negovetich just a little bit. I'm LRW Lee, author of the Andy Smithson Epic Fantasy Adventure Series. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, if you're looking for reviews of YA literature, specifically fantasy and some sci-fi, I read an awful lot. So check out my reviews at blog.lrwlee.com. And you'll get, if you subscribe, then you'll get obviously instant notification when I post something new.
Click the button to subscribe to the Book Nerd Paradise YouTube channel so you don't miss upcoming authors, giveaways, and answers to trivia questions.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and I look forward to seeing you again next Monday.